This week on Lost, Sawyer says the same thing that I say to my wife every time she asks if I've farted.
I didn't hear anything.
ABC needles in some subliminal advertising for its parent company.
I've never been to Disneyland. Oh, that's just sad.
And Jack gives me a new clip to play every time I think I've had a new cool theory.
Sounds like a good theory to me.
Welcome to my Lost Rewatch, where I'm revisiting every episode of the show Lost and talking about the good, the bad, and the mysteries. This week is Season 1, Episode 16, Outlaws. Let's get lost! Ethan's dead, and things are back to normal? Charlie is a bit shell-shocked from killing a bad man, and, well, it's Sawyer's episode, so Sawyer's haunted by a boar for killing an innocent man. What else happens in this episode? And that was Outlaws. Not too heavy on plot, but underneath the surface there's a lot of character work going on. This is what you would call filler, where back in the day network television shows had 22 to 25 episodes, and well, not every one of them is going to be a banger, or not every one of them was going to move the central plot forward. So yes, you could consider this episode as filler. But is filler necessarily bad? We always use the word filler like it's this horrible, dirty word that we lob at episodes like Adrift, or I Do, or maternity leave. Because yes, have an imagination, and don't just list expose and Stranger in a Strange Land every time. So yes, I kind of have a problem with the word filler, where people mean it in a bad way. I think that the negative connotations are too much, because there are so many episodes of Lost that could be considered filler that are actually great for the mythology, like Solitary, Special, or the 23rd Psalm, or they're the kind of episodes that are all about character and are some of the most emotionally heavy episodes of the whole show, like Trish Tanaka is Dead, The Constant, La Fleur, or Dr. Linus. You know what? Fill me up on filler if it means that I get to spend more time with these characters. And so let's look at this week's character, Sawyer. It is pretty funny that, given Sawyer's profession and entire way of life, that his character seems to get conned more than any other. If the T-1000 gave me a file saying that this was the person I was looking for, I think I'd believe the T-1000, because if you don't believe him... But on top of being the most conned, Sawyer seems to be the character that gets harassed the most by animals. Run, tree frog, run! I wonder if it's because everybody else is living in a society while Sawyer is...
I'm in the wild.
At least in this episode, he has the introspection to realize that he's a bit of a silly Billy, and he doesn't shoot the Frank Duckett boar. Future Stephen here, just jumping in somewhere in this episode to add that one of the things that I really like about Sawyer's character is that he is like one of the most connective tissue people on the show, in terms of like those off-island connections where everybody's connected to each other, because we get Boone's flashback where Sawyer appears in the police station. In this episode, the lady that he is with, where he's interrupted with Hibbs, is played by the same actress who does the lottery numbers in Hurley's episode. It's not really confirmed that she's playing the same character, but there you go. But meta connection aside, she is Harold Perrineau, who plays Michael Dawson's wife. So extra connection there. And then obviously she's connected to Kate by his relationship with Cassidy, and then in this episode again, his connection to Jack by meeting Christian. So just like he's the most conned and he's the most aggravated by animals, he is also one of the most connected characters. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, also, who did it better? Something interesting better happened. Yeah, We got to watch a man dealing with the harrowing trauma, learning how to suck it up and just admit that he's messed up. Maybe he doesn't admit it out loud, but internally we see him process his problems and admit that he was wrong and he was kind of a dick. And that is about the realest and bravest thing that a person can do. And it's not just Sawyer with the character moments. Charlie has to face his own demons. And with Jack, we get an in-show reason for why he's so vehemently against faith-based ideologies. Not religion per se, but the idea of blaming the world for things around you. The idea of fate.
I said that's why the Red Sox will never win the series.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
It's just something my father used to say. So I could go through life knowing that people hated him. Instead of taking responsibility for it, he just put it on fate. Said he was made that way.
This is perfect character setup as the show barrels towards the end of season 1, where it's going to start to pit Jack and Locke against each other more and more. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Mom, Dad's going crazy. I know. Did you sleep with that bad man? I did. I'm sorry. But don't you remember the man who came from the future? He said that you shouldn't sleep with that man, otherwise he's going to kill everybody. Well, not me, but he'll kill you and himself. I remember, but one day you'll understand, son. The bad man was just so... Oh, yeah. But now you're going to die. And I will die a satisfied woman. Get under the bed now. But, come on. Dad's coming with the shotgun. Oh, okay. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, son. Hello. I am Dr. Tallow from the Hansel Foundation. What you have just witnessed was a sad story of a person who did not listen to us. We are reaching out to a better tomorrow. If you receive instructions from the Hansel Foundation, please follow them. We are trying to prevent the extinction of mankind. Viva la Valenzetti equation!
Alrighty then, let's move on. Can we talk about the fact that this filler episode sets up 3 pretty huge moments that are going to pay off later in the show, and all 3 of them are pretty cathartic. We get Christian talking about how Jack is a great man, which Sawyer is definitely saving for a rainy day. And then we get the setup of the Red Sox, where the show can use a real-life miracle as evidence that the outside world still exists. It's a meta bit of trivia for us as viewers, but it also works as such a really good development between Jack and Christian's characters. And then you have the idea that the real Sawyer is out there still. That's 3 pretty great moments that are going to pay off later in the show, relatively emotionally, I would say. And none of them would have come without this episode. But filler episodes are bad, am I right? Alright, let's spin that donkey wheel and go back in time to see what people were saying about this episode in 2005. So this is one of my absolute pet peeves in popular culture discussion, or discussion about anything really, is where you say that you don't like a thing but you can't explain why. You never explain why you didn't like it. Look at these comments. We've got, yeah, this is the worst episode of the series. I never saw a bad episode until now. Tonight's episode sucked. Would you like to expand on that? Like, what sucked? People, even today, will moan about unanswered things that were answered in the show. It's just nice to know that it was happening back in 2005 too.
Well, looks like we got something in common after all.
Yeah, the ability to bore the absolute shit out of me. Can we have Drew Goddard write every episode? Pretty please. Drew Goddard is a pretty great writer and director, writer of Cloverfield, writer and director of The Cabin in the Woods. He's done things like Daredevil, The Martian. Pretty good guy. And it's weird because he comes in and writes a few episodes here. He's not in season 2 at all, but then he comes back to write some good episodes in season 3. T1000 is totally original recipe Sawyer. I like this idea that Hibbs could have been the original Sawyer, and then for whatever reason, we don't get any more Robert Patrick in the entire show. Ethan's corpse was totally breathing. Did anyone else see that? I don't think I've seen that before in previous rewatches, but this time I was pretty sure that I saw the body moving too. Let's check. Zombie! Ooh, zombie Ethan. Zombie Ethan? The writers are screwed. Damned if there's exposition, damned if there isn't. Exactly. They're damned if there's exposition because people call it a filler episode. They're damned if there isn't because then people will say that nothing's being told, nothing's being answered. But then, even when they do include some exposition like that earlier comment, it just goes over people's heads anyway. Alright, and with that, let's move on to whose side are you on? This week, I think it's kind of a tie between Locke and Christian. This is one of those episodes where Locke kind of comes in, is a bit weird, but he's also helpful. Like, yay, he brings coffee.
Oh, that's good.
But he also just happens to have this story that he pulls out of his ass that just happens to resonate exactly with what Sawyer is going through. Right down to alluding that it's silly that Frank Duckett might be somewhere inside the bore, whilst at the same time being enigmatic enough that we could believe that Frank Duckett is inside the bore. And then you have Christian, who is sitting in this dark bar, as we know, hours from death. Very soon he's going to have a fatal heart attack that will kill him. And the reason that I'm saying that he's my MVP in this episode is he's sitting in that bar acknowledging that he doesn't have what it takes. Which is what he's pushed Jack into believing for his whole life. And that's why I come to like these filler episodes saying that they're so great. Because there's, I know they're just silly made up characters in a TV show, but it's that idea of this man has told his son he's not good enough his whole life. And now, as he sits in this bar hours from his own death, he accepts that it's he who never had what it took. And the reason that I find this so cathartic is because chronologically, the next time that we see Christian is in the church with Jack. If you think about it, it's like Christian is having his awakening in the final hours before his death. He knows he's a coward. He knows he's wrong. And he knows it so badly that he still can't talk to Jack. But filler episodes suck, right?
Next Wednesday, after being stranded for more than a month,
I gotta get this raft finished so I can get my boy out of here and take him home.
finally, they have a chance to get off this island.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk going on about what's going on in this thing with you.
Only got room for 4 people.
But there is someone or something that doesn't ever want them to leave.
They've attacked us. We're not the only people on this island, and we all know it.
An all-new Lost, next Wednesday,